to shape and manage the flow of immigrants? Why have Americans continued to argue about immigration and who can become a citizen? What values and principles are involved in this continuing debate? And how does the 14th Amendment define citizenship, and what important rights does it confer? Please begin.
As stated by immigration activist Mary Anton, immigrants are not the refuse, but the sinew and bone of all the nations. E pluribus unum, out of many one, not only refers to the 50 states forming one nation, but also to the many different nationalities forming one American culture.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau's 2010 American Community Survey, the U.S. immigrant population was at 40 million, almost 13% of the total U.S. population. Furthermore, according to Times Magazine, approximately 11 million immigrants are undocumented within the United States. But according to New York Times, the presidential initiative will come in a single bill that will address the issues for all the undocumented immigrants.
Throughout history, our nation has fostered racist and xenophobic immigration policies and attitudes through de jure and de facto segregation. These include the Gentlemen's Agreement, the infamous Know Nothing Party, and the Chinese Exclusionary Act. However, today's immigration debate has mainly shifted from racism to a more economic concern.
Montesquieu argued that once a society becomes too large, it could not be supported. This is demonstrated in cases such as Playa Vito, which ruled that illegal immigrants are entitled to an education, but this causes funding issues for school districts. Further, according to Brian Burnman, the chief operating officer of the University Medical Center here in Las Vegas, $24 million was spent on dialysis for illegal immigrants, and in total, hospitals are only able to recover about 10% of the cost.
Some illegal immigrants who come here are unable to support themselves and their family, contributing to an economic crisis that we are unable to get under control. Florida's Senator Marco Rubio stated, "We cannot continue to have an immigration system where people only come here based on labor. We have to move towards a merit and skilled-based immigration system." Conversely, legal immigration can be extremely beneficial for economies.
In Philadelphia and Detroit, promoting immigration has been used to restore the two cities' diminishing populations and failing economies. In the 13 American Arguments, Howard Feynman claims immigrants bring an idealized view of the country they suddenly call their own. Making and enforcing immigration laws that uphold the 14th Amendment's guarantee of rights for all people while protecting the economy is still a challenge we're trying to overcome.
The 14th Amendment guarantees citizenship for all persons born and naturalized in the United States, establishing just solely citizenship, defined as law of the soil. Historically, the 14th Amendment was intended to establish citizenship among slaves. However, recently, in a CNN article, Linda Kerber claimed pregnant women are said to enter the United States illegally to drop a child so their babies will serve as anchors.
While Article 4, Section 2, Clause 1 implies citizenship at the state level, the 14th Amendment establishes citizenship at the national level. This causes conflicts between national and state policies involving immigration. According to the National Immigration Law Center, Arizona and Alabama's immigration policies have created an environment of racial profiling. In Lopez v. Gonzalez, the court ruled that there cannot be state-by-state disparities in the types of crimes that can be used to justify deportation.
Through the state and national policies, unexpected issues with illegal immigrants makes just and grain citizenship more appropriate today. Just Sanquin citizenship is interpreted as citizenship of the blood, in which citizens are only granted citizenship when at least one parent is a citizen. Section 5 of the 14th Amendment gives Congress the enforcement power. Therefore, altering the 14th Amendment would not be necessary, but instead reforming policies and passing a law that prohibits illegal immigrants from taking advantage of the idea of just solely citizenship.
Franklin Roosevelt said, "Remember always that all of us are descended from immigrants." We are a nation founded by immigrants that must continually address the issue of immigration. As philosopher and sociologist George Mead concluded, society is unity in diversity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that initial presentation. We'll go ahead and pose questions now.
What responsibilities do citizens and resident aliens share?
One of the similar responsibilities that resident aliens and citizens actually share is their civic duty. Our nation was founded under the idea of classical republicanism, meaning people come together to achieve one common good. And regardless of citizenship status, one can still help achieve the common good within a society.
Further, resident aliens, although they are not citizens, do pay taxes. So many argue that because of their paying of taxes, they should be allowed to vote. Cities such as San Diego and Portland actually allow resident aliens to vote in local elections.
And the First Amendment gives us our rights of speech and of press, and through this you're allowed to join NGOs and be involved that way, even if you are not allowed to vote, if your city does not allow it, if you are just a resident here. So you can be involved in organizations that you feel passionate about.
So, what changes should the federal government make in its immigration policies, if any?
Starting Matthews v. Eldridge actually ruled that a person, regardless of citizen status, should get a form of due process. However, recently in Harper's article, the February edition, Fremont, California had the immigration and customs enforcement come without any notification and deported a whole bunch of workers, illegal workers, from Hormel factory. And this is against the Supreme Court case of Matthews v. Eldridge, so we should uphold that when coming down to the immigration.
Well, first off, we need to be stronger on our protection of the borders to discourage illegal immigration, but at the same time, we need to streamline the naturalization process here for legal immigration, because at this point in time, it's like $5,000, $7,000 to hire a lawyer just to start your immigration process, and it takes years. I know that my stepbrother and my stepmother are currently going through the process, and they've already been here several years, and they're still going through this process because it's so lengthy.
And ever since we're young, we have sung a song or read the book, and it goes like, "This land is your land, this land is my land." And in reality, that is true. But I have many friends and many cousins who raise up thinking that they're Americans, that we belong here. But then when it gets to college, many colleges don't accept you if you're not here legally. So by Obama's DREAM Act, in his speech that he gave on Tuesday, I believe, about immigration, he said that he wants to give all the young people the dignity to know that they belong here. And I think we definitely need to push that, because many people that came here as children, they had no choice.
And going off what she said, we need to create a path for citizenship. Some sort of amnesty. However, President Ronald Reagan attempted that, and it ultimately failed because they did not control the border. So people kept coming across just waiting for the next round of amnesty. And as she said, we need to improve the lives of the people here and give them more due process rights, such as reforming the process of asylums. People who cannot be deported to their country because they are in danger in that country, they have such strict rules in our country to apply for asylum that it makes it very difficult for citizens who may be in danger to stay here.
In his inaugural address, President Obama said, "We the people declare today that the most evident of all truths, that all of us are created equal, is the star that still guides us." And even though there's current controversy and we're still working on the immigration plans and finding a route that we can take that both is economically and socially acceptable for both the citizens here and the immigrants, I think that having that fundamental just truth that all of us deserve respect is something that's going to endure.
I hear from time to time, and several times today, that we need to protect our borders, we need to secure our borders. What does that mean? What do you think that means?
Increasing security on the border is something we could definitely do. Increasing federal control. Because, for example, right now in Arizona, they're attempting to enforce the national immigration law. Under the Constitution, in Article 1, Section 8, Congress has the power of naturalization. Yet, states like Arizona are trying to enforce that law, which should belong to the federal government.
So building off of what Annie said, by having a better relationship between the federal and state policies of immigration, that would help so that we can make a better control of the borders.
This tends to be a polarizing topic, and information and media is out there on social sites and via Twitter and Facebook and every other site. So how has it influenced the arguments on this topic?
Well, first off, these social media they've allowed the topic to go so far because everyone is able to connect with people with similar views and often to debate with people who have opposing views. And so this has been good because in ways it's fostered civic discourse, but at other times it's also created hyper-partisanship where people are unwilling to see the other side and point of view, and they only put out their view and look at what they want to see.
Congressman, the Ohio Congressman Dennis Kucinich, he said, "I have a problem with the way we term them illegal immigrants because there's no such thing as an illegal human being." And one of the problems that the media has created is we kind of have a us versus them mentality, which the media in many ways promotes, whether that's on Facebook or on larger media sites. And that's one way that I think the media harms it.
On a good side of the media doing this is that it's putting pressure on Republican politicians especially, and one way is because, as we saw in the 2012 presidential election, 3 out of every 4 Hispanic voters voted for Obama, and that reason could be because he had more influence in the Hispanic community, and Hispanics are generally more Republican because they're more, what's the word? They're more, conservative, yes, they're more conservative. But the thing is, with immigration, they don't want to go to the other side. So I think one thing that would really help is if we had a Hispanic vice president run, that would help. Or the Republicans really need to put emphasis on the Hispanic community in order to get more votes.
And going off of this pressure she's speaking of in the media has allowed Congress to feel the pressure of having to get immigration reform. And we can see this with the bipartisan committee of 9 senators that has come together to create a bill, which is so key, especially with our Congress that can experience so much gridlock. This bipartisanship is exactly what we need.
So, when it comes down to it, when you think about immigration and all of the challenges that we face in the country, and I think are we going to be able to solve this problem? Are we going to be able to solve this and end this debate?
The issues with immigration are always changing. The term illegal immigrant wasn't even used until 1935 because it wasn't an issue before. And the first round of deportations didn't begin until 1924, and then that started the whole race-based quota systems. And so the issues are always changing. So while we can solve our issues now by doing the things we've previously discussed, we don't know what's in the future. We'll always, as immigrants, have to be addressing this issue.
And building off of what Annie said, every aspect of our history has been solved and has been resolved. But while we will still have the question of it, by having bipartisan committees like we just did, form a bill with the senators to come together and create a compromise, to create a resolution, is the key in order to create this resolution for immigration. So by having both sides of the political parties come together and compromise is key.
Thomas Jefferson said, remember always, we're a nation that was founded of immigrants. So I think we were founded as immigrants, and since our foundation, we've had immigrants coming in. Maybe which people from which countries are immigrating might change, but the idea of immigration is going to be an issue I can predict us dealing with for as long as I live, and after that too, hopefully.
Do you think it's fair that the country, one of the proposals is that we fast track people who have needs that we want? For instance, they want to fast track migrant workers, and they also want to fast track your engineers and your scientists. So those are the needs that we have, and they want to fast track them. Is it fair to do that versus another system that might be fairer to people who maybe don't have specialized skills?
Well, giving the people that are doing that usually are forced to go back to the country they come from. So by having the engineers and the more specialized people coming and being able to stay in the United States, not only would it benefit us economically, but also health-wise as well. But by giving them that choice to decide would be more fair in that course.
Is it fair to do that? Can the United States, is the United States being fair if it says, all the engineers come up here to the front of the line, if you don't have special skills, we'll get to you when we can?
I don't think it's fair, and President Obama said during his speech, he said, yes, these people broke the rules, they came over illegally, like they've done so much, but overall they've established their lives here, and some people don't know any other life besides this one. So I think by pushing them to the front of the line and pushing everyone else to the end of the line, it's not fair. And I think a more fair thing would be is how long you've lived here and what exactly do you know, and do you have children? I think things like that should definitely be into consideration, not just how much college you have, because it's really like a lot of people, this is all they know.
Okay. Well, that's time, unfortunately. It would be fun to keep going on and on. Well, this is the part now where we get to give you some feedback. And I meant what I just said. I mean, it would be fun to keep asking you guys questions. And that, you know, my personal little rubric is that if I want to keep asking questions and I'm having fun with it and it's interesting and I feel like you're responding and responding in an intelligent way, that you guys have obviously done a great job. I think it's a positive reflection on all the work you did, because I know that it takes, 95% of the work you do here, it's done before you ever walk into this room. A lot of homework, a lot of working together, and a lot of working with your coach, and I think you've positively reflected on your coach and the efforts that he's put in, as well as all the parents and the grandparents and other people that are here supporting you. So congratulations, good job. I have just a couple little constructive comments. By the way, I think you did great on bookending. I can't remember the quote because I'm trying to take everything in, but you started your initial CAN presentation with a quote and you bookended that with a quote. You came back to the original statement of the theme, and that's a very cohesive way to do it, and that was well organized. I thought it was unique and really cool that you used a local doctor in Vegas as a citation to authority for impact argument on some level, on a practical level. So kudos to you for that. And then kind of constructive criticism. Some of you guys would say, I want to build on what my teammate Fred said or whatever. And some of you guys would say, I want to build on what she said. And you guys all know each other, so try to use names, because that personal, it just makes the audience and the judges feel like you guys really are more of a team. And when you use the indefinite she or he, it just takes a little bit away from that. It's not going to impact your scoring, but it's just something to subliminally make us like you more. You guys did really well. You guys are very skilled and you're very intelligent, and it was a real pleasure.
I too thought that the UMC example was excellent. It has been a big, and that somebody obviously went to the effort to look and see what the problems in Las Vegas were, even though you're a Reno school. So that was sort of, it was a reflection to me that you've been looking at it statewide and nationally. And I thought that showed a depth. I like the fact that when you talked, one of the other classes talked about voting in local election. You told me where. It was in San Diego, it was in Portland. That was kind of specific information that I liked, because when you can teach us something, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I knew that they did it, I wasn't sure where. And I like the personal examples. You're gonna think I'm just wacko, but it does matter. My mother told me the first time I went on TV, I love the dangly earrings. She said, Jane, lose the dangly earrings. And when Jan Jones ran for governor, all I ever looked at was her dangly earrings. I think it's my mother's influence, but it does make a difference. The presentation, the professionalism, you don't want anybody distracted from anything that you're saying. And the earrings did dangle. They're pretty and I like them, I wouldn't be having them. And so I thought.
She's just trying to get them from
And I think that if you, your grasp was good, your feedback, you were very smooth in your initial presentation. And sometimes we tend to focus more on the give and take because we think that that's where a lot of it, you show your stuff, But it's also good to focus on that initial presentation. It flowed, it was smooth, and it was well written. So I tend to look at that well written stuff.
I would say, wow, this is now the 6th or 7th time that we've judged this morning. This is the first time I think that we as a group of judges have had a conversation that has been as fluid as what they have been talking about. I really enjoyed that. There were a lot of different ideas, a lot of different positions. We don't all have to agree with them, but they were, I thought, well thought out and well presented. And thank you for that conversation.
I think that, as a tribute to your coach, when you have 5 people on the team it is hard to find balance. It's very hard to find that balance, and you guys balanced each other well. And I think that that's a tribute to your coach, because it is, you know, you want to have participation, you want to have that opportunity for more kids to be in the unit, so that that depth of knowledge is there. So I commend you for that, because you did have that balance. The other piece I commend you on is not only were you able to, in the presentation, but you were able to use the quotes in your answers to us in the follow-up questions, but you also personalized it. And that, you know, anybody can memorize quotes and information, but if you can personalize it and internalize it in a rapid-fire type situation, it makes all the difference in the world, because then you are truly convincing that person that, one, you know what you're talking about, and two, this is important to me, and three, you really should pay attention to me because this is personal to me. So I really appreciate that. I think you guys did an outstanding job with that.
Yeah, really good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always nice seeing you.
Excellent job.
Dangling earrings, that's all I got? Yeah!
Sad when this went on. I was like, wait, we're still talking about it. I was like, I have some more to She said stop like really giving content.
Hey, last one's ready to go, so we're rapid fire, baby.
Heavy hitters.
Hey, remember not to step on toes.